Hi, if you've ever made an emotional decision with your money, this one's for you. Let me tell you about a mistake that cost me real money. I had a position in an ETF. Every day I opened the app. Every drop made my stomach turn. Every recovery gave me 5 minutes of relief before the anxiety came back. I bought in early 2024. Within weeks, the swings were already making me uncomfortable. Every day was a roller coaster. Sharp moves up, sharp moves down. I sold, told myself I'd kept my losses contained and moved on. What I didn't realize at the time was my biggest problem wasn't the ETF. It wasn't the market. It wasn't even the drop. It was me. And if you've ever panic sold an investment, bought something because everyone was talking about it, or checked your portfolio more than you've checked your messages, you've already met your biggest enemy too. Today, we're going to talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you invest, and how to stop it from destroying your long-term results. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Faisal from Lifewise Finance. We talk about investing, financial independence, and building life on your own terms. Now, quick disclaimer before we get into it. Nothing in this video is financial advice. Everything I share here is based on my own experience and research, purely for educational purposes. Everyone's situation is different, so make sure you do your own research and consult a professional financial advisor if needed. Here's what we're covering today. First, why your brain is literally wired to make bad investment decisions. And no, this isn't about being smart or not smart. This is just how human brain works. Second, how the wrong assets can destroy your psychology before they even destroy your portfolio. I'm going to use my own example here with real numbers. Third, why other people's opinions and the media are one of the most dangerous inputs you can feed into your investment decisions, and what to do instead. By the end, you'll have 4 concrete things you can do immediately to start working with your psychology instead of against it. Let's get into it. When you start investing for the first time, something strange happens. You can't stop looking at the numbers. Every 2 hours, maybe every hour. Up 2%, feels good. Down 1%, heart rate goes up. You close the app, open it again 5 minutes later. This is not a character flaw. This is not weakness. This is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do. Now, here's the science behind it, and I promise I'll keep that simple. Back in 1979, 2 psychologists, Kahneman and Tversky, discovered something that changed how we understand human decisions. They found that losses feel about twice as painful as the equivalent gain feels good. So losing 100 euros registers much harder in your brain than gaining 100 euros feels pleasant. Think about that for a second. Every time you see a red number in your portfolio, your brain treats it like a threat. Elevated stress, a sense of urgency, a feeling that you need to do something now. The problem is, with long-term investing, the right move is usually nothing. And doing nothing when your stress response is screaming at you is genuinely hard. Here's the other thing nobody tells you when you start. Every serious long-term investment strategy says the same thing. This is a 5-year minimum holding period. Some say 10, some say 20. If your investing horizon is measured in years, and it should be, checking your portfolio every day is like weighing yourself every hour while on a diet. The data is too noisy to mean anything. All it does is stress you out. I did this too, by the way, religiously. The irony is that the hours I spent watching charts taught me absolutely nothing useful. They just kept my stress levels high and my decision-making compromised. So here's what you do instead. Set a check-in schedule quarterly, 4 times a year. Put it in your calendar like a meeting. Outside of that, close the app and spend the time you save on something that actually matters. Your skills, your income, your next investment decision, not the daily noise. Now let's talk about the ETF I mentioned at the beginning of this video. It was called the VanEck Crypto and Blockchain Innovators UCITS ETF. When I looked at the historical performance before buying, it was impressive. Multi-year returns that looked like exactly the kind of growth I wanted. What I didn't fully process was what came with those returns. Look at the historical data on this thing. In 2022, it dropped nearly 87% in a single year. The following year, it recovered 351%. Then in 2024, the year I was in it, it jumped widely in both directions before I decided my nerves couldn't take it anymore. There's a number called beta. It measures how much an asset moves compared to the broader market. This ETF has a beta of 2.52. That means when the market drops 10%, this thing drops 25% or more. In theory, I understood this before I bought, but in practice, watching it happen to actual money I had earned was a completely different experience. And there's actually science for this too. Psychologists have found that we're really bad at predicting how we'll feel about future events. We think we can handle a 40% drop. We imagine ourselves staying calm, holding the position, trusting the process. But when it's actually happening, when that's real money going down in real time, a lot of people discover their actual tolerance is closer to 15%. That's why those risk questionnaires brokers give you are only half useful. You can answer hypothetical questions all day, but until real money is on the line, you don't actually know how you'll react. The lesson here is not that volatile assets are bad. It's that your asset choices need to match your psychological reality, not your ideal self. A broad global ETF like MSCI World or FTSE All World has real swings, yes, but they're manageable for most people. Individual stocks and narrow thematic ETFs, especially in sectors like crypto or early-stage tech, can move so violently that even experienced investors struggle to hold through the drops. Before you buy anything, ask yourself one question. If this position drops 50% tomorrow and stayed there for 2 years, would I hold or would I sell? Be honest with yourself. If the honest answer is sell, you're either overexposed to that asset or you shouldn't own it at all. Reduce the allocation until the answer changes. In my case, the irony is I didn't lose a fortune. I just couldn't psychologically handle the ride. And that discomfort alone was enough to push me into a decision I hadn't planned to make. The volatility didn't hurt me. My psychological inability to handle this volatility did. Now, let me paint you a picture. Influencer X has 2 million followers. They post a video saying this is the investment opportunity of the decade. Your neighbor mentions the same thing over dinner. You see an ad on your commute. A financial news channel runs 3 segments on it in 1 week. Suddenly, it feels like everyone knows something you don't. And the urgency is real. You feel like you're going to miss it. That feeling has a name: FOMO, fear of missing out. And combined with something called social proof bias, the tendency to follow what everyone else is doing, especially when we're uncertain, is one of the most effective ways to get people to make bad financial decisions at exactly the wrong time. A researcher called Robert Cialdini spent years studying this. He found that we use other people's behavior as a shortcut for our own decisions, especially when we don't know what to do. In financial markets, this translates into bubbles. Assets go up not because they're worth more, but because people see others buy in, assume they know something, and jump in. By the time an investment is everywhere in the media, the people who got rich from it have usually already positioned months or years earlier. The retail investors buying at the peak of the hype are often the ones left holding the bag when it corrects. Here's what the data consistently shows. The average investor doesn't underperform the market because they pick bad stocks. They underperform because of bad timing driven by emotion. They buy after assets have already risen, because that's when the hype is loudest. They sell after assets have fallen, because that's when the fear is loudest. Every time you buy because of what you saw on social media, every time you sell because of a scary headline, you are letting someone else's emotional state drive your financial decisions. The antidote is not to become emotionless. That's not realistic. It's to build something bigger than the moment. Write down your long-term goal, not vague, specific. The number, the timeline, what it actually means for your life. For me, it's what I call embedded freedom. Choosing the projects I work on, the people I work with, the place I live. That vision doesn't change because of a news cycle. When markets are crashing and every headline is catastrophic, pull out that goal. Ask yourself, has anything actually changed about what I own? Usually the answer is no. And remember this, bearish markets are not disasters for long-term investors. They are discounts. When the market drops 20%, you are buying the same assets at 20% off. The investors who build real wealth are the ones who stay in the game long enough for compounding to do its work. Everything else is just noise. Alright, let's make this practical. 1. Set a check-in schedule, quarterly, maximum. Put it in your calendar. Delete the app from your home screen if you need to. The less you watch it, the better your decisions will be. 2. Audit your holdings for volatility you genuinely can't handle. Look at each position and ask, if this dropped 50% and stayed there for 2 years, would I hold? If the honest answer is no, reduce the allocation now, before the drop happens. 3. Before buying anything new, ask yourself who is telling you about it and why. Is this your own research? Or is this something you saw on social media or heard in an ad? If you can't explain in plain language what the asset is, how it makes money, and why you believe in it long term, don't buy it. 4. Write down your long-term financial goal. The real one, the specific one, and keep it somewhere you'll actually see it. Read it every time the market makes you want to react. Your goal doesn't change because of a bad week. Long-term investing is one of the most powerful tools available to ordinary people. Not hedge funds, not institutions, regular people who start early, stay consistent, and don't let their emotions make the decisions. But the hardest part of investing isn't picking the right ETF, it isn't choosing the right broker, it's learning to sit with discomfort, ignore the noise, and trust the process. When everything around you is screaming that you should do something. That's a skill, and like any skill, it gets better with practice. If you found this useful, the subscribe button is right there. And if you know someone who's just starting their investing journey or someone who panic sells every time markets dip, send them this video. Time is the only thing you can't get back. Use it well.